yung isasagot nyo sa amin that you are all dependent on the assumption of Meralco.
Hindi po. Hindi po.
Eh meron pong ano yan eh. Ang pagkakaalam ko dyan, if Meralco is unable to supply, I mean the Gen company is unable to supply Meralco, there is a penalty of 9 centavos per kilowatt hour.
908 pesos po.
Kaya nga, ma-protection na ng consumers. Kung hindi po ganito ang gagawin natin, walang salamat po.
Kaibigan, walang kumpare, huwag niyo kong subukan.
I am sorry.
Kayo ang boss ko.
My God, I hate drugs.
Ang pangarap nyo ay pangarap ko.
I'd like to go back to the objectives of EPIRA Secretary Rotilla and Chairperson Di Malanta. It is very clear that their overarching objective is to provide electricity in affordable manner. That is also in your charter, Madam, that you have to provide electricity, as a matter of fact, to approve rates in order to provide electricity in the least cost manner. How is it possible, given the constraints of your budget, that we can deliver that to our people? This has been 21 years ago. As a matter of fact, during the campaign of President Bongbong Marcos, it is one of his advocacies to bring down the rates of electricity. Madam Chair, the EPIRA is very clear that you will have a very, we should have a very strong and independent regulatory agency in the person of ERC. How can we do that? Either the secretary or the chair.
Madam Chair.
Secretary?
Just quickly on my part, these are the valid concerns indeed that you have raised. But I would say that as shown in the slide previously, our dependence on imported fuel is a major factor, and therefore over time we need to decrease our dependence on imported sources of fuel and develop the indigenous resources, and that would be a way.
That will be a long shot, Secretary. You see, if we are dependent on the international market, or we are dependent on the intricacies of the prices of fuel like coal,
Yes.
then there will be an unending discussion on whether or not we shall be able to bring down the rates of electricity in this country. I think when we say reasonable prices, the Supreme Court made a very important parameter here. In one of the cases decided, I think it's Republic of the Philippines, represented by ERC versus Meralco. The Constitution said that the reasonableness requirement comprehends such rate which consists in it being not so low as to be oppressive, as to be confiscatory,
Yeah.
but not as high
That's to
to be oppressive. That balancing factor there. As a matter of fact, it further said that the rate regulation is an art that will result into, that is very good to the public utility, but best to the public. Either way, the balancing act is there, Mr. Secretary and Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. The problem is, how can we find that balance factor in order to serve the constituents? Kasi matagal na po ito eh.
Yeah.
like dito, I think there is a current application by some power generations companies in your office, madam, concerning the fuels that they use. Some are complaining because the prices of coal has quadrupled, and there is a problem about the malampaya. But when we talk about a contract signed by a public utility and a generation company, which spans a period of, let's say, 10 years. I have not investigated the contract. I have not seen the contract, but I know this is all, this is a fixed contract. I'd like to know your predisposition, Madam Chair. How will you resolve the application? A contract which is fixed, and here is a generation company asking you to raise the electricity rates, which eventually be a burden to the consumers. Hindi ba ito ay fixed, Madam? And there is also a performance fund. I think there is a performance security that is supplied by a company. Paano yun? How can you assure, ito lang, in this particular instance, how can you ensure that the additional rates being asked of you that will be eventually a burden to the consumers can be balanced?
That was your last question, Rep. Marcoleta. Chair Di Malanta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To address directly po the
Before
question-
you respond, the chair excuses Secretary Lotilla. So thank you very much, Secretary. We hope to see you again. Plenary debates begin September
Thank you,
21st.
Chair. I wish to assure the honorable members of the committee that we will always be available and we will continue to engage you constructively on all of the issues that you have raised and will be raising.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if we're not going to be able to ask some pertinent questions to the good secretary, can we have some moment with him on some other time? Because there are some questions that are lingering in our minds that need answer as well. But the good secretary will be leaving today, and we understand because he's meeting our president. But can we be assured that we're going to be asking questions as well on the soonest possible time, if given the right time?
I've known the good secretary for decades now, and I am sure that he will indulge us and will coordinate with the Committee on Appropriations to schedule an
Sir,
informal
Mr. Chairman,
meeting.
this will be the last time that we're going to have a budget deliberation on Department of Energy. Is that right?
Yeah, so we
So
can
in that case, we'll
schedule,
be seeing the good secretary on the plenary.
we can schedule an informal briefing before
The plenary.
plenary debates begin on the 21st.
Okay, that's answer my query. Thank you so much.
It will
Thank
be
you,
my
Mr.
pleasure,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
The secretary is excused.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I yield the chair to Representative Bongalon.
Thank you, Madam Senior Vice Chairperson.
Madam Chair, where is the answer? The answer to my...
I'll respond. I recognize Chair Di Malanta to answer the question of Congressman Marcoleta. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To address the question of Congressman Marcoleta, sir, just a few days ago, we actually had a clarificatory hearing with Meralco and the involved generation companies so that we can proceed without delay in their proposed price adjustment. During that hearing, what Meralco qualified and be up for us to evaluate the validity of their statements was that while the contract is fixed, it was fixed under certain assumptions. And their position is that those assumptions are no longer valid. Therefore, they have ground to say that they can adjust the price because there is what they were claiming a change in circumstance.
Will you accept that argument that they are fixed on the basis of some assumptions? Who made the assumptions?
Meralco, Your Honor.
Ito yung problema, madam eh.
Opo.
The ones who applied with you are the generation companies. Meralco is the one arguing for them. Paano nangyari yon? How would Meralco tell us that the contracts are fixed based on their own assumptions? Who are they to assume that these are the things that must be assumed under their contract?
Just a correction, Your Honor, the application were jointly made by Meralco and the generation companies. But nevertheless,
Yun po yung tinatanong natin kanina. While you are supposed to be the regulatory agency that will guard the interest of our people, you need to be strong and independent. This is the EPIRA requirements. Pag sinabi nila na you have to protect our consumers, and that is within your charter, you're supposed to approve rates only to provide electricity rates in the least cost manner. Yun ang ano mo eh, yun ang ang tanong ko lang, this is just a question on how you will approach this problem.
Before the good chairwoman from the ERC respond, I wish to remind Congressman Marcoleta that his last question. Please proceed.
Ang problema po kasi paano tayo matatapos nito kung hindi man lang natin ma-highlight talaga yung pinaka-buod ng problema ito. We're talking about the high rates of electricity. Maski na ang ISIS ngayon, they have been texting me. Can you imagine? From 14 pesos in Saneco, I think that's in Mindanao. In July, it's 14.3. And then by August, it's already 16 pesos and 53 centavos. A good friend of mine who is palagay ko, multi-billionaire. July, ang kanyang consumption is 3 million pesos in July. This August, it's already 6 million. What is happening, madam? Kung kami pong mahihirap, mapag-complain, you can easily understand that kasi mahihirap na tao talagang mapag-complain. Pero pag mga bilyonaryo magko-complain na there is really a problem in this country, paano makikialamang Meralco dito? Kontrata po nila ito eh. Will they not respect the contract? Will you accept the argument that is based on their own assumptions? Mali na po ito, madam.
opo. Ang intention po talaga namin is magdesisyon sa
Ayaw po
loob ng
nating i-defer ang ano ninyo, kagaya ng request ni Congressman JJ. Pero kung ganito po yung isasagot nyo sa amin, that you are all dependent on the assumption of Meralco.
Hindi po.
Meron pong ano yan eh. Ang pagkakaalam ko dyan, if Meralco is unable to supply, I mean the Gen company is unable to supply Meralco, there is a penalty of 9 centavos per kilowatt hour.
908 pesos po.
Kaya nga, per kilowatt hour. Ngayon, and then you will have to also get or deduct the positive difference between their contract price and the one that they will procure from the WSM in order to mitigate the increase.
Opo.
Hindi ba?
Tama po.
Para sa ganun, maproteksyon na ng consumers. Kung hindi po ganito ang gagawin natin, walang salamat po.